All right, the Trump White House is battling a major credibility issue. You got a Wall Street Journal editorial this morning, a publication not set up to bash Republicans, and it says this: the president clings to his assertion like a drunk to an empty gin bottle, rolling out his press spokesman to make more dubious claims. If Trump doesn't show more respect for the truth, most Americans may conclude he is a fake president. Where is that coming from, and what will its impact be? Joining us now, Anthony Scaramucci. He was part of the Trump transition team, now an informal advisor to the president. Appreciate you being on.
Chris, pleasure
good
to be
see
here.
You.
Thanks
so,
for inviting
I mean, the
me.
Journal, you know, guys like that have the Journal right next to your hard-boiled egg in the morning.
Okay, but
your
the Journal
green tea.
wasn't super excited about candidate Trump. And so I hear what you're saying about the Journal because they're typically conservative and Republican. But the president represents a new brand of republicanism, and he's also representing a disaffected class of people that elected him to the office. And so the Journal has always been more of a corporate sponsor and less of a what I would call a populist sponsor.
Be that as it may,
so
they're not banging his ideology.
I don't like the gin comment, though. He is the president. These guys should settle down a little bit. But go ahead.
But let's talk about where it's coming from. Fair criticism of what they say, but this isn't about ideology. We don't like his populism. We think this policy is wrong. They're saying he's BS about the truth too often. And this is coming at him from 100 different sources, mainly because it's true. He keeps saying things that are proven false at best and intentionally false too often.
Okay, and I hear what you're saying, and sometimes that may be true. I mean, the president doesn't have perfect information, but what I see about him, working with him very closely for 9 or 10 months and knowing him for 20 years, he's got great instincts, Chris, and so there is something there. You guys want to pretend that there isn't, that's okay, but there was a FISA warrant.
You're talking about the wiretap.
Yeah, that got accepted, okay, I think it was in October possibly, I don't know the exact dates. And I know you've had Mike Lucchese on the show, and he's also said the same thing that I'm saying. And the president has very, very good instincts. And so let's just let a little bit more time pass. Okay, I was on the show a couple weeks ago. We had the comments about the JCC. I really wish that tweet didn't go out in hindsight. But it then was reflected that there were some people that had worked for the Bernie Sanders campaign that were making some of those calls. And so what I'm saying to you is let's let some time pass. I trust the president. I think the American people that supported him trust the president. And as he starts to roll out this agenda, his popularity is going to rise.
Well, look, the credibility matters because people trust him, because he has a base, because they put their hope in him. I mean, you and I grew up with a lot of these people that voted for Trump, and it's because they wanted better. The wiretapping thing is troubling because of exactly what you say. Sometimes he has imperfect information. Not on this one. He could have picked up the phone as president of the United States and proven it if he wanted to.
But
what he seemed he wanted, Anthony, is that he wanted a distraction.
Okay, but Chris, something could have happened at Trump Tower. We still don't have all the information. I think Tucker interviewed him at Fox News last week, and he said, let's give it some more time to let the information come out.
But he doesn't need the time. He could get the information with a phone call. He wants the time because it belabors everything else they should be looking at.
That's your point of view. That's not my point.
What else could be true at this point? You had the director of the FBI and the NSA say there's nothing there.
I think he's got a lot on his plate, right? He's cooking on 5 or 6 different stovetops right now. He's got to get the health care passed.
Right.
He's working on the tax legislation. Sure. He's rolling back these regulations that we all need to get rolled back so that we can get the economy growing again. So let's give him a little bit of time.
But the next part of that statement should be, so I don't know why he keeps creating these bogus scenarios that distract from his own agenda.
Okay, see,
he did this, Anthony.
You're calling them bogus, but you see, you have to.
The wiretapping thing's bogus, Anthony. It's bogus. It's bogus.
Let's let a little.
And he wasn't talking about Flynn. We both know he wasn't talking about Flynn.
Last time I was on the show, you guys said, well, you're making allegations that may not be true. I said I wasn't making an allegation. I was at an open question about what was going on with these Jewish community centers. Then we discovered that there was a person.
But this is very different.
Look, but it's really not, Chris. Let me explain to you why it's not different.
Please.
Okay, let me explain to you why it's not different. He's 21 or 22 months as a politician. He's used several devices to come over the top of the mainstream media to deliver information to his base. He said a few weeks ago that he would not have been president, in his opinion, had he not had those devices. His instincts have been very good. Sometimes he gets some stuff wrong. I think you've gotten some stuff wrong. I know I've certainly gotten some stuff wrong. As it relates to this situation, I think what he said is, let's let more time pass and let's see what
I
actually
know, but
happened.
it doesn't hold up
But
to scrutiny.
But let me
Anthony.
just finish.
And if I ever got anything wrong,
Chris,
anywhere close to what he gets wrong on a regular
Chris,
basis,
you and
I would be picking up garbage somewhere.
Yeah. It sounds like you didn't vote for him. Okay, but that's fine. But let me just say
You
this
don't
to
know who I voted
No,
for,
no,
Scaramucci.
no,
Don't
I
make
said-
it personal.
No,
Make your point.
I said it sounds like you didn't vote for him.
Make
It's
your
fine.
point.
I actually happen to vote for him, and I support the guy. But let me just say this to you, okay? Let's some time pass. Okay, he's going to get the health care thing passed Thursday. I predict that there will be a vote. He'll get it passed. The Republicans have to come together around the president. They may not like everything about the health care bill, but they know they need to send a message to the markets, the American people, that they made promises to the American people that put them in office, come together, even if there's some philosophical differences. Then I think that'll be very positive for tax reform and the further legs of the stool for the president's agenda.
All
You're-
contingent on his ability to be
you're
believed by
saying-
those lawmakers.
I
The
understand.
credibility issue matters, Anthony.
understand.
That's why I'm asking you about it.
I understand that. I think the president's very credible. I put a lot of trust in him. I think the Twitter stuff is probably not for you or for me. He's coming up over the top of the mainstream media and the people that live in these coastal cities to deliver information to the people that have voted for him.
But what about when it's misinformation and disinformation?
You're missing one piece of the story, which we have to tell the American people. One of these warrants was accepted, okay? And so I don't know if phone numbers were listened to or emails were
There
looked
was
at.
no warrant that was accepted or issued on any Trump personnel. None.
Okay, but there was a FISA warrant. I don't have it in front of me.
Yeah, but
there was
I know
one in June that was
right,
rejected,
yeah,
and
we
there was
know
one
the
in
facts
October
on
that
it.
was accepted.
But it wasn't on any Trump
Okay.
personnel. It wasn't on Trump Tower.
Let's
Now
let
you
the-
guys are saying, wait a minute.
let the-
Flynn got picked up on this. Flynn got picked up on surveillance. He wasn't wiretapped.
Okay.
It was the Russian ambassador that was being monitored. He got swept on it.
Okay.
He wasn't in Trump Tower. He was
Chris.
on vacation. The facts, Anthony. The facts.
I'm staying with the facts. Let's a little bit more time.
Why? Why more time?
Why more time?
He
Because
could have
what we
picked up
have
the phone
found,
and known all this in 5 minutes.
Used an example when I was on the show a couple of weeks ago.
But it's a totally different example.
It is, but more facts came out, and I
Which
was
did
at
not
one-
resurrect the mistake that you
one-
guys made initially there. You're just picking
one
it up
level,
in terms of time.
one level of vindication there. Okay, now let a little time pass.
Why,
Let's get
though?
the health.
Why? Why does he deserve time about something that is provably false?
I think there's going to be more relevant information. If I'm wrong, I'll come back on the show. You can have one of those little dunking things. You can throw a thing at me. You can dip me in the water.
There's no reason to do that because it's not about
think I'm
disrespecting you. It's about respecting the truth.
I don't think I'm going to be wrong, though. Okay,
How can you be right is what I don't
You're in
understand.
the search for the truth. I'm in the search for the truth. But you know what the American people really want, Chris? They want the truth, but they also want progress. Okay, we've got a slow-growing economy. We have uncertainty about the health care legislation. We have uncertainty about jobs. We both know. You talk about the people you and I grew up with out on Long Island. Middle-class wages are down 9.4%.
People want better.
Over the last 10 years.
But I don't know how they're getting it with this kind of
He's
stuff.
got the capability and the skill set and the team around him to make it better for those people.
If he gets out of his own way with these tweets. Let me ask you about something else. Another man that we both know, Paul Manafort. Spicer, I don't know where his head was when he tried to explain away who Paul Manafort is. We both know that man was brought in to save that campaign, and you could argue he did just that through the convention. He was the chairman. He was real. He was central.
Okay, I like Paul a great deal, but let me defend Sean for a second.
Please.
I think what ends up happening is you're out there as the front person for the president. You're his verbal Secret Service agent at the end of the day. And so I think what's happening there is Sean probably doesn't know what the investigation is going to lead to, and he wants to protect the president. And so when he used the word limited, he was basically just trying to say, listen, I'm trying to shield the president from whatever could have happened if it was nefarious. Now, I believe nothing happened that was nefarious. That's just my opinion. I know Paul a long time. I have a lot of respect for him. I worked very closely with him. I don't think we can describe Paul's role as limited. And I
The
think that
AP
was
reports
unfair.
this morning. What do you make of those? Look, Spicer was wrong in how he described them. It was a BS
but I
description. His
but I
reasons are his own.
I
But what do you
understand
make
that,
of
but
the
I
AP
understand why Sean
report
did it that way.
about his contract for about $10 million or so
well, I think Paul
with this
issued
man, Deripaska,
Okay, so I know
Russian aluminum magnate?
All right, so I know
AP report.
Okay, so I know Oleg personally, and I take Paul at his word that he was working on business interests for Oleg, and it wasn't tied to the Russian government. Now, here's what happens in the media, and here's what happens in politics. We like throwing water balloons and eggs and tomatoes at each other, and we like raising these things. As an example, I ran into the Sovereign Wealth Fund head in Davos, Switzerland, at a restaurant, said hello to him, Some reporter reported that, and now Elizabeth Warren asked for an investigation of me. I have no ties to Russia. I had no Russian money in Skybridge Capital's funds. Last time I was in Russia was on a field trip from the London School of Economics in March of 1985. So we do a lot of ridiculous things.
But that's you. You didn't have a contract for $10 million a year.
I got that, but I don't think it was related to Russian politics or the Kremlin. I think it was related to Oleg's business, and I take Paul at his word on that because I like Paul, and I know you like Paul, and I think Paul is a very decent guy with high integrity, and so let's see what happens here. And I love working for him on the campaign. I was in constant contact with him. He's a very smart guy. He has great judgment. I think the president respects him. And did he have those contacts 10 years ago, a decade ago? He did. Are they affiliated with the political system inside the Kremlin? I believe that they're not, but I honestly don't know the answer because I wasn't there with them.
Anthony Scaramucci, appreciate you working through these issues with us.
Great seeing you.
You're always
Are we
welcome
going to have a
here.
push-up contest on this show at some point, you and me? I'm just
whatever
looking.
you want. You could only do
I think
better
you look like
than
you're
you
in
did
good,
with this.
you
Give it
look
more
like
time.
you're in good shape, but I think I could take you on the push-up contest.
It's all stress. Good to have you here.